Hey, I am Nora Florio. I'm a senior at Sweetbriar College, a studio major, art history minor, and working on my teaching license. I would like to take this moment to thank the Randolph for having this conference and giving me this opportunity to present here, as well as thanking the Honor Summer Research Board for giving me the opportunity to do this research in the first place at Sweetbriar, as well as thanking my incredible advisors, Professor Morris Jones and Professor Laufenberg. I hope you enjoy. Love versus Marriage, Italian Wedding Rituals, and Renaissance, Florence, and Venice. Okay, I included this piece from Jean Renique from the Northern Renaissance to show you what to look for in a wedding portrait because of his use of symbolism and the prominent Florentine couple that is shown here. That was most likely this was a secret marriage. Now, the fact that Jean Renique says Jean Renique was here. One, he wouldn't have been that common for him to sign the painting and even say he was here. Or the fact that he literally painted himself within it, the idea that he was a witness to it, he saw it happen. And this story of Christ that is painted in here in this credible detail is the idea that the church blesses this. God blesses this marriage. The idea that the two have consented to it. And this idea of holding hands being an important part of showing that they were married and this important part of the ring ceremony. Okay, so what the church believes is needed for marriage. The only requirement was mutual consent of the man and a woman, and that they were not already married to somebody else. All they needed in the eyes of the church, which is contrary to what everyone else believed. Why should you have a wedding? A public wedding is the most effective way to show off wealth, style, and power. And the joining of the two houses is proof that you are married. The fact that you do these traditions, you have these people who that if you're in court, they can be like, yes, I saw that happen. Yes, the community saw this happen. Yes, they are married. That is what was important. Traditions were expected by the social society. These like in this cosone, which is a wedding chest, mainly used in Florence, but also in Venice as well. You can see depicted here is the ending of a procession and a feast. You could see the people that were there, and Florence would be a smaller group than in Venice, which I will explain more later on. But there was this importance of the weight of these traditions that was important to the community, which is why they still happened. What and why marriage? What? It's a business contract. It should benefit both sides of the family. Why? To gain power or to climb a social ladder, and even to overthrow a rival family. I'll come back to that in a moment. Now, the roles in the family was men were the head of the household. Women, they bettered their family. And the most valued role was children. Now, if I was in this time, I would, you know why I would get married? Because my dad told me to, because it was expected of me, because that was my job. And I would probably get married younger rather than older, because the younger you were they saw it as meant the more fertile you were and the more beautiful you were. This is why on a normal basis, men were 10 years older than their bride. As well, the only other option women had in life was to become a nun and help better the church, would also reflect well on their family. Okay, so if the husband passed away, the woman had two choices. One, give her kids to her husband's family and remarry. Or she could keep the kids and help better their family. Now, she could do this she'd have to get creative to do this, but she could. Like Alexandra Strozzi. helped to bring back her family to Florence. So they were banished, her husband passed away, she was able to come back because daughters are always technically a part of the father's family, and she used marriage, used her kids to increase the social standings in the family. So one of her kids, Katrina, she married to Marco. Marco, since Alexander was a woman and could not do a lot of things on her own, she used Marco as a person to kind of go and like get these marriages going, and like her sons would be like, oh, like I think they should do this, but she would completely plan out everything he would say through these letters that she would write to the government, to everyone, just kind of like pulling all the strings in the background. She found a way to better her family, and in the end, her family, the Strozzis, were allowed back into the city. She did that. She found a way to better her family, and that was the role of the woman. It was to better the family. They just had to get a little more creative without a husband. Pretty cool, I think. How to prepare for arranged marriage. We keep talking about them. Now let's see how it's done. Number 1, informal inquiry. The bride's father meets the groom's parents, and they suss it out, figure out, okay, we want this marriage, we don't. Dowry, what's the size, all that. They figure that out. Now they swear out the agreement. Bride's father meets the groom. They shake on it. They decide, okay, it's good. And then they go, the two of them, with a witness for both sides of the family, go to the notary. They swear out in front of the notary. The notary says, okay, this is good. Then now the bride and groom are bound for marriage. Courtship begins. Groom meets the bride. He brings her and her family presents. After months of different things, the wedding's going to happen. Now the wedding is where the difference between Florence and Venice really are strong. Because in Florence, they had rules about how many people could come to a wedding and how big it could be. And they tried to keep things a little more like down and like kind of close together, because the reasoning for it was they didn't want wars or to fight out through these things. Like, things got really crazy. Okay, next would be the ring ceremony, which could happen right after the wedding, but did not always happen after the wedding. The reason for this just kind of varied time, day, like it was more of a personal preference type of thing. So after this, then there would be the feast and consummation of the marriage. Most important, one of the most important things, because until that happened, the marriage was not final. Now that happened in one of two ways. Either it happened directly after, at the bride's house, or the groom took her back to his house, happened there, and then she came back a few days later with gifts to the family, or he left, came back like the next day or so, brought her back, they consummated the marriage, then they came back, gifts, and then the procession from the father's house to the groom's. Now the groom would hire some people to help bring her luggage over, and the groom would be at the house. He wouldn't be with her during the procession. Now this is the most dangerous part, because this is where robbers and different things would like stop her. Sometimes the bride would be stolen, like things got bad. This is why Florence tried to keep things smaller, and they had Cassone's wedding chest was one of the ways of doing it. Wedding chests were these beautiful boxes, which I'll explain a little more later in a second, but it was about kind of keeping things like closed, but also allowing them to be seen by the public, as we talked about the idea of witnesses and the importance of rituals. Now on this you will see a cassone. Cassone were wedding chests. They were designed by the groom and his family and paid by the family for the bride. This is what she would usually bring her things over in. They had stories of biblical stories or Roman stories or different things on it, or even scenes. Like this one has a Florentine procession is what it's showing. These beautiful things. But you see how it's more simple compared to what we'll see in this one from Florence. you see this dining, the wedding at Cana, but in this version of it, it is set an actual place in Venice, as well as in contemporary clothes. So it is an actual representation of what a wedding would look like in Venice, a kind of idea. So you can see the amount of people and things and how big and grand this is shown as compared to what we saw before, and even earlier on the slides where they were a little more simple, as in Florence, and Venice was a little bigger and bolder. Now look at this painting right here, this one right here, where this Cupid has these branches, these olive branches, and the ring, and the holding of the hands, like we talked about before, this idea of marriage, and this photo, in this painting, is the idea that the Cupid is bonding the two together. And he's almost in a way an angelic type of figure, like a kind of religious, like looking over, like these two are blessed type of thing. And you can see throughout this research, I realized how the two different cities use weddings or more. One of them had these big, bold ones like Venice did, and Florence was a little more chill and a little more intimate and common and beautiful. But both had this, like, it was still the idea of the importance of, like, of the two kind of agreeing on it. But the main purpose of weddings back then was to help better the family, to help your future family be better. I really hope you enjoyed this presentation, and here are some of the sources that I used. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for coming.